Gunfire split the silence of the steel corridor, echoing like thunder in a tomb. Sergeant Daniel Ward said, "This wasn't supposed to happen. The intel swore this place was clean." Sparks rained from shattered lights, smoke thickened, and alarms shrieked in distorted bursts. Private James Keller, clutching his bleeding chest, gasped, "Tell her." His name was Marcus Hale. No such soldier existed in the records. A file lay half-burned in a barrel, stamped classified, "Do not exist," one page fluttering free, curling in the draft. Blood pooled on the linoleum floor, carried in streaks by bootprints of men who should not have been here. Shadows moved faster than the dying soldier's breath, faceless and efficient. Somewhere deep, a door slammed, sealing the truth behind iron. The silence after each shot screamed louder than the bullets. Daniel stared at the fallen soldier, his oath burning like acid. What the hell had they stepped into? And why did it feel like betrayal itself had a heartbeat? Daniel staggered backward, rifle trembling in his grip as Keller's breath rattled to silence. He said, "Marcus Hale, who the hell are you?" The echo bounced like a curse in the narrow corridor. Smoke coiled along the ceiling, smothering the air. Somewhere boots scraped on steel, deliberate and cold. Daniel pressed Keller's dog tags into his palm, whispering, "I won't let them erase you." But he knew the system already had. The folder was gone, the page stolen by fire, leaving only ghosts and questions. He tasted ash on his tongue, his ears ringing with the last shot fired. The silence pressed against him, heavier than the rifle he clutched. Fear crept in, sharper than shrapnel, because every instinct screamed he was no longer the hunter, but prey. The alarms cut abruptly, leaving only dripping water echoing somewhere unseen. Daniel said, "Too quiet. This is wrong." He moved cautiously, barrel sweeping the corridor, each step crunching glass beneath boots. The classified page lay inches from a drain, its ink bleeding into water streaks. He reached for it, but a shadow passed over, and it was gone, snatched by a gloved hand that retreated into darkness. Daniel froze, heart pounding. Someone else wanted the truth hidden. Someone faster, colder. The walls felt like a coffin, every flicker of light a warning. He whispered, "They were waiting for us." Daniel pressed his back to the wall, breath shallow, ears tuned to whispers that weren't there. His radio hissed static, then silence. He said, "Command, respond. Damn it, someone answer." Nothing came. A chill ran through him, deeper than the smoke. It wasn't jamming, it was abandonment. He clenched his rifle tighter, the metal warm from his sweat. The sense of betrayal sharpened, the kind that eats from the inside. He muttered, "We were sent here to die." His oath felt hollow, the flag stitched on his sleeve a mockery. Somewhere ahead, boots shifted on steel again. He raised his weapon, jaw tight, ready for ghosts. The corridor opened into a larger chamber, the air thick with burnt paper and scorched electronics. Daniel stepped inside, rifle sweeping left to right. Rows of filing cabinets lay overturned, flames devouring their contents. He whispered, "Years of secrets, all erased." In the center, a single chair sat empty, restraints hanging loose, the floor beneath stained dark. The heat pressed against his face, yet the emptiness froze him. Someone had been here, interrogated, erased, and forgotten. He felt the truth pulling him under, heavy as lead. He said softly, "Marcus Hale, you were never meant to exist." Daniel stumbled into his quarters, sweat and smoke still clinging to his uniform. He locked the door, back pressed against wood that suddenly felt thinner than paper. He said, "Keller's dead. The file's gone. Marcus Hale is no ghost." He pulled off his vest, staring at the medals pinned across his chest. The silver shimmered like mockery, every ribbon a lie bought with blood. He whispered, "How many of these were paid for with betrayal?" His reflection in the cracked mirror didn't answer, but his hollow eyes told the truth. He remembered every briefing where silence was rewarded, every mission where brothers never came back. Alone now, the walls closed in tighter than the corridor had. He clenched Keller's dog tags in his fist, swearing, They want to erase him. But deep inside, Daniel knew the machine was already grinding his name into dust. The phone on his desk buzzed once, then stopped. Daniel stared at it, heart pounding, knowing the call would not be recorded. He lifted the receiver slowly. A voice whispered, "Forget Hale, or you'll join him." The line went dead. Daniel slammed the receiver down, breath ragged. He muttered, "They're already watching me." He pulled the blinds closed, the city lights beyond fractured into shards of paranoia. His pulse thudded like boots down a hallway. He thought of Keller's last words, of blood soaking the floor, of files burned. Daniel said, "If Hale never existed, why kill to erase him?" His voice cracked in the silence, the weight of betrayal pressing harder than armor. For the first time, the decorated soldier felt hunted in his own home. Daniel reached into a drawer, pulling free an old photo, himself and Keller grinning in desert fatigues, dust on their boots, sun blazing behind them. His hand trembled as he traced Keller's smile. He said, "You deserved better, brother." The picture's edges were worn, the memory now weaponized against him. He placed it beside Keller's dog tags on the table. He whispered, "They erase names, but not faces." The ache in his chest felt deeper than bullets. He remembered Keller joking after missions, promising to retire, to live a life untouched by shadows. Daniel's throat tightened. That dream was ash now, burned like the files in the corridor. He muttered, "I'll carry you, even if the record won't." But the truth felt heavier with every word. Sleep wouldn't come. Daniel sat on his cot, head bowed, hands gripping rifle like a prayer. Shadows crawled across the ceiling as headlights passed outside. His chest heaved, breath uneven, like the air itself was poisoned with secrets. He muttered, "What oath binds me now, to truth or to silence?" His voice cracked in the emptiness. He imagined Keller's voice mocking him for hesitating, urging him to fight. But silence was safer. Silence kept men breathing. He clenched his jaw, sweat dripping, whispering, "Safe isn't freedom. Safe is a cage." The words tasted foreign, yet they cut deep. The medals on his uniform glinted faintly in the dark, each one now a weight of shame. The room pressed closer, tighter. Daniel knew he couldn't outrun this storm. A knock shattered the silence. 3 sharp raps, measured, deliberate. Daniel froze, rifle half raised, heart racing. He whispered, "Not here, not now." He stepped toward the door, each movement slow, sweat dripping down his temple. Another knock followed, softer, patient, like the rhythm of death itself. His breath caught. No voice called out, no footsteps receded. He pressed his back to the wall, finger tightening on the trigger. The metals on his chest seemed to burn, reminders of a system that had already written his end. He whispered to himself, "If it's them, it won't be quick." The silence after the knock was worse than the sound. Whoever waited outside wasn't leaving. The war had followed him home. Daniel hadn't slept when dawn cracked through the blinds, slicing the room into bars of light and shadow like a prison cell. He sat on the cot, dog tags in his fist, replaying Keller's last words in a loop that tore deeper with each breath. His phone rang once, then died again, the silence afterward louder than any alarm. He muttered, "They want me cornered, they want me afraid." He strapped on his vest, hands trembling as though his body already knew the fight was lost. As he stepped outside, the base felt unfamiliar. Salutes too stiff, eyes avoiding his, whispers clinging to air like smoke. Daniel's commanding officer passed him with a smile too sharp, saying, "Morning, Sergeant. Stay sharp today." The words stung like a blade dressed as courtesy. Daniel muttered, "They know." His chest burned with betrayal, because for the first time in years of war, the battlefield was not foreign soil, it was home. And home was hunting him now. The mess hall buzzed with voices, but none reached Daniel. He sat with a tray untouched, eyes fixed on soldiers laughing in clusters that once welcomed him but now closed tight against him. He muttered, Brothers don't vanish overnight unless someone pulls the strings. His spoon clinked loudly against metal tray, earning glances that slid away too fast. Across the room, Lieutenant Harris, once his closest ally, looked up, met his gaze for a second, then turned back, whispering into another officer's ear. Daniel's stomach twisted. He rose, his chair scraping harsh against tile, and the sound cut the room like a gunshot. He whispered, "I can't trust any of them." Every movement, every glance felt choreographed by unseen hands. He left the hall, boots echoing on concrete, and the laughter behind him carried no warmth, only the bite of isolation sharpened by betrayal. The archives smelled of dust and secrecy. Daniel swiped his badge, heart pounding when the door clicked open with reluctant weight. Rows of filing cabinets stretched like tombstones, silence pressing heavy. He muttered, "If Hale was real, the proof is buried here." His fingers skimmed labels, trembling, until he found a drawer marked Special Operations, Declassified. Inside a folder bore Keller's unit number, but Hale's name was absent, replaced by a blank line. He said, "Erased," like he was never born. Papers crackled under his grip, but before he could read deeper, footsteps echoed down the hall. Daniel's pulse hammered. He shoved the file under his vest, whispering, "They'll bury me with him if they find this." The lights flickered once, and shadows stretched long as whispers filled the air. He wasn't alone, and the silence now carried the weight of a predator closing in. Daniel ducked into the comms office, slamming the door shut. He whispered, "One call, one chance." Static hissed as he patched into a secure line, fingers shaking. He muttered, "If anyone's still clean, they'll hear me." A click, then a fragile voice. "Ward, keep your mouth shut. They already tagged you." Daniel's throat tightened. He said, "Who is Hale?" Silence lingered like a noose. Finally, the voice trembled, "Not here, not safe. Meet me tonight, Dock 17. Then the line went dead. Daniel stared at the receiver, hands slick with sweat. He muttered, "A ghost with a voice." His chest tightened as if invisible hands were already wrapping around him. The clock on the wall ticked louder than his pulse, reminding him that every second he stayed meant another shadow moving closer. The choice was made. Tonight he would chase answers even if they killed him. Night swallowed the docks in black water and cold steel. Daniel pulled his hood low, rifle slung under jacket, boots crunching on gravel. He whispered, "Dock 17. If this is a trap, it ends here." The air smelled of salt and rust, fog wrapping like a shroud. A figure emerged from shadows, a woman in civilian clothes clutching a satchel. Her voice cracked, "You don't know what Hale cost them." Daniel raised his rifle slightly. He said, "Then tell me before they silence you." She stepped closer, eyes darting, hands trembling. The mission, the bodies, Hale was the mistake they buried alive. Her words shook like gunfire in Daniel's chest. Then headlights flared behind them, engines roaring. She gasped, "They found us." Daniel spun, jaw tight, whispering, "No turning back now." The headlights cut through fog like blades, pinning Daniel and the whistleblower in white glare. She whispered, "You don't understand. Hale wasn't a ghost. He was the mission." Daniel's rifle shook as he muttered, "You said bodies. Whose bodies?" Her hands clutched the satchel tighter, pulling free photos that trembled in her grip. Grainy images showed soldiers firing into a village, flames consuming huts, civilians falling. She said, "They needed a scapegoat." Hale became that name, erased, rewritten. Daniel's stomach dropped, bile rising with betrayal sharper than bullets. He whispered, "So we were the monsters." Her eyes brimmed with tears. "They lied to all of you." The roar of engines grew closer, boots striking gravel. Daniel's blood froze. For the first time, he wished the dead soldier had lied with his last breath. Engines cut suddenly, leaving silence heavier than gunfire. Figures emerged, operatives in black gear, rifles raised, visors reflecting the light. The whistleblower whispered, Run. Daniel grabbed her arm, pulling her behind a shipping crate. Bullets shredded metal, sparks raining, wood splintering. Daniel whispered, "They're not here to arrest us. They're here to bury us." She shoved the satchel into his vest, eyes wide. "If I die, the truth lives in you." His chest tightened, torn between survival and duty. The operative's footsteps crunched closer, precise, relentless. Daniel whispered, "If I carry this, there's no going back." She met his gaze, trembling. There was never a back. He clenched his rifle, heart pounding as though betrayal itself had grown teeth. Tonight wasn't about victory. It was about survival long enough to breathe the truth into daylight. They fled between containers, boots pounding against wet gravel, bullets biting steel, inches away. Daniel muttered, "Keep moving." The whistleblower gasped, clutching her chest, breath ragged. She said, "They'll never let us out alive." Daniel yanked her forward, whispering, "Then we make them bleed for every step." The satchel thudded against his vest, its weight heavier than any pack he'd carried in war. Ahead, a chain-link fence rose, barbed wire slicing the fog. Daniel whispered, "Almost there." A shot cracked. The woman cried out, stumbling, blood staining her sleeve. He pulled her up, jaw tight, muttering, "Don't quit on me now." The fence loomed taller with every step, freedom inches away, but guarded by predators who never tired. Daniel's chest burned, lungs screaming, but betrayal gave him strength to carry her forward. They reached the fence, Daniel hoisting her up as bullets sparked against steel. She gasped. "They made us kill innocents, then buried Hale to hide it." Daniel's arms strained, lifting her bleeding form higher. He muttered, "And they pinned the medals on us." Her eyes widened, filled with tears. "You were their hero because he was their ghost." The words gutted him. He shoved her over the fence, then swung up, boots scraping wire. A bullet tore past, grazing his arm, fire biting flesh. He gritted his teeth, whispering, "They'll have to do more than that." On the other side, they collapsed into mud, headlights burning behind. The whistleblower clutched his arm, whispering, "Now you know the truth." He stared into the dark hollow. "No, now I carry it." Mud soaked their boots as they ran into shadowed alleys beyond the docks. Sirens wailed faint in the distance, but Daniel knew none would come for them. The whistleblower coughed, blood dripping from her sleeve. She whispered, "They'll paint us traitors." Daniel muttered, "Truth makes enemies of kings." They pressed deeper into the maze of rusted metal and fog, chased by headlights sweeping the horizon. His chest heaved, the satchel heavy against his ribs. Every photo inside burned like fire in the dark. He whispered, "If this is the cost of truth, I'll pay it." Her hand tightened on his sleeve, trembling. She whispered, "Then don't stop, no matter what it takes." He met her gaze, haunted eyes reflecting his own. Daniel muttered, "There's no stopping now. Not until they know Hale was never the ghost we were." Rain lashed the alley, turning mud into rivers that swallowed their boots. Daniel pulled the whistleblower into an abandoned warehouse, his heart thundering louder than the storm. He whispered, "We can't run forever. They'll box us in." The woman slumped against a crate, blood soaking her sleeve. She said, "Then you need to decide. Save yourself or carry the truth." Daniel's rifle trembled in his hands, every scar on his body screaming at him to walk away, to choose silence. He muttered, "I fought for a flag that lied, but the men who bled beside me deserve more." She coughed, clutching her chest. "Then fight for them now." Lightning split the sky, shadows of approaching operatives crawling across broken windows. Daniel's jaw clenched. The war had followed him home, but for the first time, he was ready to fire back. The first shot shattered glass, spraying shards across the floor. Daniel shoved the woman down, firing back into the dark. The echoes slammed into him like artillery. He whispered, "You want silence? Come take it." Figures stormed inside, rifles flashing in muzzle bursts, but Daniel's every shot carried desperation, honed by war. He ducked behind crates, breath ragged, whispering, "Every bullet buys another second for truth." The whistleblower dragged herself to cover, clutching the satchel. She said, "Don't die for me. Die for them." Her words cut deeper than bullets. Daniel fired again, watching two operatives fall. His chest burned, but his voice was steel. "If I fall, it won't be as a pawn. It'll be as a man who chose." Daniel moved like a ghost among crates, muzzle flash lighting his face in violent bursts. Each shot chipped away at the silence built to bury him. He muttered, "Not tonight." The whistleblower crawled closer, pressing a bloodied folder into his vest. "This is everything," she whispered, her voice trembling. "If they kill me, make sure it sees daylight." Daniel's throat tightened. "No," he said, dragging her closer. "You live to tell them yourself." A grenade clinked across the floor, rolling near their cover. Daniel grabbed her, pulling her behind a steel beam as the blast tore crates apart. Dust choked the air, fire licking edges of paper that held secrets worth dying for. Daniel whispered, "They'll burn it all, but I'll burn with it before I let them win." The firefight slowed, silence crawling back in like a predator. Daniel crouched, rifle aimed at the last figure advancing through smoke. The man removed his helmet, revealing Lieutenant Harris. Daniel's stomach dropped. "You," he muttered, voice cracking with disbelief. Harris smirked, weapon lowered. "You were always too stubborn, Ward. Loyalty is survival. Truth is suicide." Daniel's knuckles whitened on his rifle. "You sold us out. Keller, Hale, all of them." Harris stepped closer, calm as a serpent. "They were sacrifices. You were never meant to see behind the curtain." The whistleblower coughed, whispering, "He's the betrayer." Daniel's chest burned with rage sharper than bullets. "Then I'll bury your lies with you." The storm outside wailed like the dead, demanding justice. The standoff stretched, storm outside hammering roof like drums of war. Harris raised his rifle, eyes cold. "Choose, Daniel. Silence or a shallow grave." Daniel's breath trembled, every scar reminding him silence had cost too much already. He muttered, "No more graves for ghosts." The whistleblower whispered, "Do it." Daniel's finger tightened on the trigger. Shots exploded, smoke filling the air, ears ringing with finality. Harris stumbled, eyes wide, collapsing in silence, as if betrayal itself had been shot dead. Daniel's chest heaved, rifle shaking in his hands. He whispered, "For Keller, for Hale, for all of them." The whistleblower coughed, clutching his arm. "Now we run. Now we tell." Lightning illuminated their faces, scarred but unbroken. Daniel muttered, "No more silence." The storm had broken by dawn, leaving the city washed in gray silence. Daniel guided the whistleblower through empty streets, every step dragging weight heavier than his rifle. She whispered, "We survived, but at what cost?" He said, "The cost is theirs now. We carry proof." His arm throbbed where the bullet had grazed, blood dried stiff against his sleeve, but pain no longer slowed him. The satchel pressed against his ribs, a heartbeat of truth threatening to explode into daylight. They reached an old safe house tucked between shuttered shops, its walls scarred with years of forgotten wars. Daniel pushed the door open, whispering, "Inside before they smell the blood." She staggered past him, eyes hollow yet alive. For the first time, survival no longer felt like silence. It felt like a weapon waiting to be unleashed. Inside the safe house, dust choked the air, windows boarded, shadows stretching long. Daniel bolted the door, muttering, "We bought time, nothing more." The whistleblower collapsed into a chair, clutching her wound. She whispered, "You should have left me." He knelt, tearing his sleeve to bind her arm, saying, "You're the reason I can't quit." She winced, tears mixing with grit. "They'll erase us the way they erased Hale." Daniel's voice hardened. "Not if the world hears first." He placed the satchel on the table, flipping it open to reveal files, photographs, recordings, all stamped with the weight of betrayal. Silence thickened, heavier than the secrets themselves. Daniel whispered, "Every name in here is a grave waiting to be unburied." The woman met his eyes, nodding. "Then let's start digging." Daniel spread the documents across the table, each page a ghost screaming for justice. He muttered, "Operations erased, missions rewritten, bodies hidden under metals." His hand trembled as he lifted one photograph, soldiers firing into the village Keller had once spoken of, children running through flames. He whispered, "God forgive us." The whistleblower leaned forward, her face pale, saying, "They'll kill us before the world ever sees this." Daniel's jaw clenched. "Then we bleed with the truth in our hands." His reflection in the cracked window stared back, older, hollowed by war. For the first time he realized he was no longer fighting enemies overseas. He was fighting the silence of his own country. The radio crackled, faint at first, then clear. A voice hissed, "Word, we know where you are. This is your only chance to stop." Daniel grabbed the receiver, shouting, "You killed them, erased them, and pinned their blood on us." Silence answered. Then a calm voice said, "Hale never existed. Neither will you." The line went dead. Daniel's hand shook as he lowered the receiver. The whistleblower whispered, "They're coming." He muttered, "Then we don't wait. We send it all out now." He shoved files into envelopes, pressing them into her hands. His eyes burned with resolve. If one of us falls, the other keeps running. Her lips trembled, but she nodded. Together they became messengers of a truth too dangerous to live quietly. Night fell again, and the safe house became a fortress of ghosts. Daniel loaded his rifle, checking each magazine with ritual precision. The whistleblower lit a single candle, its glow casting long shadows across the files stacked high. She whispered, "Even if we die here, the world will know." Daniel's eyes glinted in the flame. "They can erase names, but they can't erase graves. Every soldier lost is proof they failed." He looked at the medals, still pinned to his torn vest, fingers curling around them. With a sudden motion he tore them free, tossing them into the flame. Metal hissed, ribbons curled. He whispered, "I won't carry lies anymore." The whistleblower's eyes welled, not with fear, but with fire. Together, they braced for the reckoning to come. The night pressed heavy against the safe house walls, silence broken only by Daniel's steady breathing and the whistleblower's ragged coughs. He whispered, "If they find us, it ends here." She clutched her wound, pale but resolute. "Then we end it on our terms." The candle flickered, shadows dancing across stacks of files ready to be carried into daylight or burned into ash. Daniel stared at the satchel, its weight greater than any weapon. He muttered, "Truth costs more than war." Her lips trembled, but her eyes blazed. "Then let them come. Let them choke on what they buried." Outside, the crunch of boots broke the night, a slow drumbeat of inevitability. Daniel raised his rifle, chest tight. "They're here." His oath was no longer to a flag, but to every grave erased by silence. Tonight would not be quiet. The door exploded inward, wood splinters flying. Black-clad operatives flooded the room, rifles raised, faces hidden behind masks. Daniel fired first, muzzle flash lighting his face with fury. He shouted, "This is for Keller!" Bullets tore into walls, glass shattered. The whistleblower dragged herself behind overturned furniture, clutching the satchel. She screamed, "Get it out!" Daniel's voice cracked, "Not without you." He moved like a man already marked for death, each shot a scream against betrayal. The operatives advanced without hesitation, shadows with guns. Daniel's chest burned with each breath, but he held his ground, muttering, "You won't bury us." The whistleblower's hands trembled as she slid a flash drive into a portable transmitter. She whispered, "Then we bury them with the truth." The transmitter's light blinked weakly as the whistleblower hit the switch, files beginning to upload across a stolen military frequency. She whispered, "It's sending." Daniel's eyes flicked toward her, hope clashing with despair. He shouted over gunfire, "Hold it steady!" Bullets ripped through the walls, one grazing his side, pain searing. He staggered, but his rifle stayed raised, spitting fire back at shadows. The whistleblower hunched lower, guarding the device with her body. "Even if we fall, the truth will outlive us." Daniel gritted his teeth, forcing his body upright. No more ghosts. Flames licked the edges of paper, scattered across the floor, smoke thickening, choking every breath. The world outside remained oblivious, but inside this room, war was finally telling the truth. The transmitter beeped once. Green light steady, files sent. The whistleblower gasped, collapsing with relief. "It's done." Daniel turned, firing his last rounds, then swung the empty rifle like a club. An operative fell, another surged forward. Daniel's fist crashed into mask and bone, but a rifle butt slammed into his chest, knocking him down. He groaned, blood pooling beneath him. The whistleblower crawled toward him, hand outstretched, voice breaking. "Don't let them take you." Daniel's eyes burned with defiance. "They can take me. They can't take the truth now." The operatives hesitated, uncertain, as the world outside now knew what had been hidden. Daniel's voice dropped to a whisper, meant only for her. "Hay lives through this." The gunfire ceased, silence pressing like a coffin lid. Operatives froze as radios crackled. Headlines already spilling across networks, truth cutting through secrecy. Daniel lay against the wall, vision dimming, whispering, "They can't erase us all." The whistleblower's hand clasped his, tears streaking her face. "You did it." His breath rattled. "No, we did." Outside, sirens rose, not to silence but to surround. The operatives backed into shadows. Mission failed. Daniel's eyes closed, medals gone, scars bared, but dignity unbroken. His last words echoed like a final classified stamp. "Pain. This mission does not exist." The candle guttered, smoke curling upward as though carrying the truth into eternity. The silence that followed was heavier than any war, unforgettable and final.